get started. So natural fertility, who here, if you want to write a comment, remember you can do it anonymously, but write in the chat box if you are starting to look at preconception, if you have been trying for a little while and nothing's happening yet, if you've been going through miscarriages, if you're going through IUI or IVF, let me know in the chat box what everyone's doing. So I can see a couple of people are writing that they are just starting their preconception journey, which is lovely. So we will talk all about that tonight. So few things to begin with. Did you know that only about 14% of women ovulate on day 14? So we'll talk all about this, figuring out your fertile windows and how we can actually do that accurately, because if you're following a period tracking app to figure out when you're fertile, it is not accurate. So we'll talk more about that later. Did you know that about 1 in 4 women will experience a miscarriage in their lifetime? So this is something that I help a lot of my clients through, something that does happen more frequently than what is spoken about, which is sad, but it's something that we need to start talking more about to break that stigma. Did you know that you can actually only get pregnant approximately 5 or 6 days out of your whole monthly cycle? So I'll teach you about how you can actually figure out what your fertile window is as well. Another thing, did you know that your eggs take approximately 3 months to mature? So that is why I recommend 3 months minimum for preconception, if we're wanting to work on getting your egg quality better. So we'll talk more about this into the session, which relates to AMH levels. And if you have been on your fertility journey for a while and you've been frightened by an AMH level not looking great, then take note of this slide and we're going to talk more about that soon. And wait until the end, because I do have a gift for you at the end for attending live. So you might see this little guy, he's a little bit bigger. You might see him running around in the back. This is my little doggy. So one thing you probably already noticed, I do get super excited talking about hormones and fertility. So sometimes I can talk really fast. Make sure you've got paper and pen to take notes so that you can absorb more content. And do ask questions. I love to hear the questions that you may have. If you're thinking it, then probably a lot of other people are thinking it as well. So my name's Ellen. I'm a naturopath and I've worked with thousands of people all over the world. I have an online clinic. I have fertility courses, hormone courses. I see clients one-on-one, and I love to do these webinars to connect people in the community and provide free education, because it's something that I do think should be available to everyone. So thank you so much for joining again. So we do have 2 platforms running here, so don't mind me if my eyes are switching between the 2. We've got Zoom and then I've got another one going. So ask questions in either of them, whichever one you're located on. So first up, who feels like they learned nothing about hormones or periods when they were a teenager? Probably the only thing that I learned was this quote from Mean Girls. Isn't it just hilarious? So it's funny but not funny, because that is not what we want when we're going through fertility journey. We really want to be understanding what's going on with our body. So let's count down. Oh, my dog is just, yep, he's gone a little bit crazy after his dinner doing zoomies over there. So let's count down my top 5 tips for natural fertility. So we're going to go over from 5 to 1. None of them are really more important, to be honest. They're all important. So let's go. Number 5, understand when you're ovulating and when you are most fertile. So this is a really important one to look at, because when we can understand when we're fertile, that is when we can have the most chance for conception, obviously. I'm just going to mute everyone. Sorry, I'm not sure why that's not muting. So When we're looking at this chart here, if you've seen this chart before, great. If you're a client of mine and you're watching, you have probably seen this chart because it is something that I run through all of my clients with. So I'm going to give you a short and sharp explanation of what all of this means. So day one is day one of your period, day one of your cycle, day one of your period, or menses, like it says here. So when we're looking at day one of the cycle, that is when all of our hormones are pretty low. You can see all of these hormones are low, 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 low. As we get to the end of our period, that's when our estrogen starts to rise. And so our estrogen really helps our body with pain management. It helps our mood, it helps our energy, all of these beautiful things. If it's too high, it can become a problem. If it's not high enough and too low, it can also be a problem. When we ovulate, which can be any time around day 10 to day 20. So there really is no set time that people ovulate. For me, I am usually about a day 12 person to ovulate, so more earlier than a lot of people. But I've had clients who ovulate on day 19 and 20 in a normal 30-day cycle as well. So remember, there's no set time that we ovulate, but how can we actually see when we ovulate? Sure, we can do hormone testing to see when the estrogen drops off and, when these hormones start to peak, when our progesterone starts to rise, but it's not really doable for the everyday person. It's not really sustainable to go in to get a blood test every day for the whole month, right? So things that we can do is to look at our LH, which is using ovulation strip testing, but I'll tell you about why this may not be the most accurate way to do it. And we can also look at our basal body temperature. So with our basal body temperature, this is what basal body temperature is, the lowest temperature that our body registers overnight. So when our body temperature rises, this is a confirmation that the ovulation has happened. When your LH rises, this is not a confirmation of the ovulation. So if you're doing LH strip testing and you're getting positive test results, but you're not getting pregnant, that is because the LH is just the trigger to say, hey, please ovulate. So it's triggering the ovulation, doesn't mean the ovulation happens. So this is a really important one to understand. And I feel like that is a big misconception when people are trying to fall pregnant and getting all of these like billions of LH strip testing, and it can be a little bit of a waste of money and energy as well. So basal body temperature is gold standard to figure out when we're ovulating, as well as cervical mucus tracking, which we won't be going into that tonight, cervical mucus tracking, but I do have a free handout that I'm going to give everyone who has registered for the webinar. So you will get that. So ovulation happens, body temp rises, and in this luteal phase here, is when the temperature stays high. So we can see temperature staying high, 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 high. When your progesterone drops off, that is when the body temperature drops off, and that's when you start to get your period. So what we can actually see when we're tracking the basal body temperature is we can predict when the ovulation happened and when the period happened. So you usually don't get a period unless you have ovulated. There are some specific cases where you can have a period without ovulation, which is why it is so important to track basal body temperature, because if you've been trying for a while and you're not falling pregnant, then it could be the fact of the no ovulation going on. So what actually helps the ovulation? Ovulation is triggered from the brain to the ovaries. So there's a signal that goes from the brain to the ovaries to tell the body to release the egg. We also need, for a healthy conception, we also need a peak of that progesterone to happen, because when the progesterone rises, that's what helps to hold the baby there. and helps with the development of the embryo. So another important one is to really be working on this progesterone production if you are in your preconception phase. There's some beautiful herbs and nutrients, things like zinc, B6, herbs like Vitex is an amazing one to help with this progesterone production. If we're looking at ovulation, we need to be thinking about licorice. Peony is a beautiful herb to help with the ovulation, but so is the Vitex. So there's, of course, these things are very individual and we do need to take them case by case, but it is a really important one to make sure that progesterone is increasing, because this is what helps the lining of the uterus to increase. So really, really important, because that's where implantation happens. So super important for all of this. I feel like that's enough ranting about this graph. Let's move on. So how to actually track the basal body temperature. So this is what it looks like when you have your temp drop. Oh, conveniently, I actually brought my temp drop in to show you what it looks like. So this is the easiest way to be tracking your basal body temperature. I've tried different ones like oral thermometers, which you have to take, manually when you first wake up. And it honestly just caused me more stress tracking basal body temperature with an oral thermometer than it was even worth, because I'd wake up and be like, oh my God, I forgot to do my basal body temperature. So now I use this, which I find really, really helpful. It just has a little bra strap type of clip. So you can just clip it onto your arm, like just above your elbow there. And it has the little tracker in here. So it's really easy. All you have to do is just press the button before you go to sleep, and then it just picks up on your lowest body temperature overnight. It's great for shift workers. It's great for people who already have bubs and you're up and down during the night. It's great for people who just overall have restless sleeps, snoring partners, that type of thing. So it's a really, really good one. So I definitely recommend that. A lot of my clients use this because it really helps with the motivation, and it really helps to just make things easier to actually happen in the morning. So then you just sync it up with your phone, and it puts it all in this pretty little graph like this. So for example, let's have a little look at this chart. So can anyone guess in the chat, can you guess what day this person has ovulated on? So you can see these are the cycle days down here. Can you guess what day? Oh, I don't know what happened there. Can you guess what day this person ovulated on? I'll just wait for some. Remember, you can put in anonymously if you want into the chat box. So someone said day 16. Someone said day 15. Yeah. So yeah, that is pretty much right. Around this day 14 and 15 is where the ovulation happened for this person. And then you can see pretty clearly that this is dropping off here. So this person will get their period probably that next day, I would say, on day 29. So this is like a typical one. For example, my basal body temperature starts rising about day 12 here, and then starts declining I have about a 27-day cycle. So it is a little bit shorter, but nothing to be concerned about. Like a normal cycle can go from 26 days to 32 is a general cycle. If it's shorter than that or longer than that, that's when you might notice that there could be some imbalances going on with estrogen and progesterone, for example. Again, in the app, you can track all of your cervical mucus as well, which I find really helpful too. That's what it looks like when you wear it when you go to bed. You can track all of your symptoms as well. I just find this so helpful. So definitely take advantage of that discount if that's something that you're interested in, or if you've been thinking about that for a little while. They do give me a discount code for my clients to use. So yeah, you're totally welcome to use that. I just popped the link in the chat box there for you. 10% off, pretty cool. So just write questions. We'll do Q&A at the end, by the way. Just pop them in the chat box for me. Number 4, reasons why you may not be getting pregnant. So this is a really big one. A lot of people just think it's to do with like age, luck, like don't stress, that type of thing. Stop stressing or stop thinking about it, that type of thing. But there's just so much more than that. So things that we need to look at for reasons why you may not be getting pregnant. Let's start from the top. These are in no particular order. Removing endocrine disrupting chemicals from your life. So personal products and plastics have been shown to severely impact your fertility status and definitely affect your estrogen. So this is something that we really need to look at because it can also affect sperm quality, which is the next thing on the list, which we'll talk about in more detail in a sec. So when we're looking at removing these endocrine disrupting chemicals, personal products, plastics, so this is looking at anything that you're putting on your body, whether it's like makeup, whether it's deodorant, whether it's hair care, anything like this, perfumes, fake tan, all of that. So really important to remove these things from your life when you're wanting to become pregnant. Something that I find interesting, which kind of just highlights the importance of it, is that in a lot of IVF clinics, they actually ban the use of synthetic fragrances. So whether that's like perfumes or even just fragranced deodorants and body products. So it really just does go to show, but because it actually affects the production of the embryo. So it is a really big one to work on removing from your life. And the plastics are a big one because this is something that can mimic estrogen in the body. So when there's high estrogen, that means that there's less chance of progesterone to be produced. There's lots of things on my website about how to reduce endocrine disrupting chemicals from your life. So do have a look on there on my blog articles, lots and lots of info there. Next thing, check the sperm quality and quantity. So it's not just about how many sperm, like you probably hear like sperm quantity has dropped by this much in the past 50 years, which is definitely true. Hey, Cushy. Sorry, he's just like chewing something. Which is definitely true, but it's also more about the quality of the sperm as well. So when you get a semen analysis, it doesn't just say the number of how many is there. We also need to look at what the quality of the sperm are, how they swim, what the morphology is. Here he is. What the morphology is, and really looking at these things in more depth, because the sperm quality is literally 50% of the picture. So, you know, the women's health, which is usually what most fertility problems get blamed on, is actually only 50%. So it is really, really important to get the sperm check done if that hasn't been done already. Usually normal GPs will only test the semen analysis if you've been trying for at least over a year, sometimes even more, that they don't check it for. So really important. You can ask for it to be earlier, definitely. I would highly recommend that, to get that test done, to really check out what's going on there, because just more often than not, when I've had one-on-one fertility clients, this has not been done. Even if they've been going through IUI, it's something that doesn't get addressed. And even if the results come back not great, it still doesn't really get addressed. And there's just so much that we can do to support the sperm quality and quantity. for our partners. So definitely a talking point. Get them involved. Make sure everyone in the picture knows that it's 50-50. Let me know if you have questions about that, or if you guys have done any sperm analysis before. Next one, PCOS and other hormonal imbalances preventing ovulation. So PCOS can be a really big one. This is when ovulation is stopped due to imbalances with usually testosterone and insulin. So I've got a list of the bloods that I would recommend that everyone gets done before getting on fertility journey, or if you're on fertility journey, then you can get them done now. So PCOS, other types of hormonal imbalances can be what I said about the anovulatory cycles, which means that you may be having a cycle, but you may not be ovulating. So getting these things checked out is really important. Starting with your temp tracking is really the groundwork for this, because that's where we can see exactly if you are ovulating or not, and then be able to form the plan from there. Other reasons why you may not be ovulating can also be to do with your progesterone levels. So getting your progesterone checked on day 21 is really important. You can't just go and get hormone tests done on any day of the month. It just doesn't work like that. If you have had a health professional tell you just go and get your hormones checked any day, doesn't matter, then probably get a second opinion. If you're someone who has missing periods and you're not ovulating, that's a different story. This is more if you are ovulating, if you are getting a period, even if it's irregular, there should be a set day that we get these tests done on. Otherwise, they're just completely useless. Like, if we're looking at, went the wrong way. If we're looking at progesterone and we go on day 7 to get that checked, it's not really going to give us an indication of anything. And, just like if we get your estrogen checked on day 14 or 15, depending on when you ovulate, it's not really going to work. So the rule for the progesterone testing is day 21 if you have a regular approximately 30-day cycle, or 7 days after your ovulation. So 7 days after ovulation, if you're someone like me who ovulates on day 12, then I would want to be getting checked on around about day 19, so a little bit earlier than the normal. If you're someone who ovulates later, then we would want to get that checked later. There's definitely different things that we can do for different people depending on what your cycle's like. So definitely reach out for help to me if you need to be working that out. More than happy to help you with that. Next, we have thyroid imbalance. So this is something that can really affect your ovulation as well, and also can affect just ongoing progesterone production, which is what helps with the implantation. So thyroid imbalance, really important to get this checked. It's not something that you can just get basic thyroid testing done for. A lot of the time people get their thyroid checked and everything's fine. And I swear if I had $1 for every time I've heard that, I would be living in a humongous big mansion, because it's so often. Sorry, my dog's being a little bit naughty tonight. So the thyroid TSH is the one that normally gets checked by the doctor. We want to get checked TSH, T3, T4, and thyroid antibodies. Really, really important to get all of those done. Usually the doctor won't be able to check all of them. For under Medicare or wherever you are in the world, sometimes there is a bit of resistance towards doing full thyroid panels. So you can pay for them privately, reach out to me for help if you need advice on where you can get that done. More than happy to help you out. So really important. And nutrient deficiencies. So these are things that we need to look at, because if you're deficient in a nutrient, Your body needs to be optimal to procreate. If the body is not in optimal state, then it won't be able to happen, because our body is always trying to protect us. Our body is always trying to do the best thing for us and the best thing for our future baby as well. So let's go over the list of things that I'd recommend for you to get checked. So as you if you've been on a fertility journey for a little while, you'll probably notice that testing is very basic and things don't really get done unless you ask for them from the doctor. So this is a great list of things to look at. So we've got your estrogen, progesterone, LH, and FSH. These ones should usually be checked on about day 3 of the cycle. And free testosterone, really important one to get checked, especially if there could be some type of PCOS picture or not ovulating picture. And sex hormone binding globulin. Oh, I should have said in here too, that this can also be due to coming off the hormonal birth control. So whether that is hormonal birth control pill, whether it is the Mirena, whether it is the rod, whether it is depot injection, all of these different contraceptions can have a big impact on why you're not ovulating, because those medications shut down your ovulation completely. And then we stop taking it and we're like, come on, body, do that thing. And the body's like, what thing? We haven't had to do that for like 10 years. So really important one to check out what's going on with SHBG, free testosterone, because these are ones that can become raised a lot if you've been on birth control for a while. Even if it hasn't been 10 years, even if it's been a year, these things can be seriously affected. Fasting insulin, fasting glucose, if we're looking at that PCOS picture, if the ovulation is not happening, important. If you're getting anything like hormonal acne, back acne, excess hair growth, sometimes people get it around here, or like snail trail area, definitely looking at these testosterone, SHBG, insulin, really important. Then looking at nutrient levels. So zinc, iron studies, B12, copper, really important one. Iodine, this is a urine test. Usually you have to pay for that one. And vitamin D. So did you know that vitamin D is actually a hormone? And this is something that we really need for conception. Plus iodine, all of these nutrients, iodine, zinc, B12, iron, all of these get used up like crazy when we're pregnant. So it's really important to make sure that you've got these stores there ready before you get pregnant, so that we can have the most optimal chance for conception, but also be ready for pregnancy. Because if something is low, it can take a little while to build those levels back up again. So it's important to get these things done just as early as possible for yourself. Your iodine and your zinc are also really important ones for your thyroid function, and also for your progesterone production. So super duper important to get those ones tested. Now we're on to the reasons why you may not be getting pregnant. So what are we up to? Number 6. So AMH. A lot of people get scared by the AMH readings and getting told that your AMH is really low, and that means your fertility factor is really low. But AMH is not a fertility predictor. AMH levels, low AMH is not correlated with infertility. So the doctors will use this test to measure the amount of growing follicles on the ovaries. And yes, the follicles may decline over time, but fertility is actually more about your egg quality rather than egg quantity. So you can have heaps of eggs there, but if they're all bad quality, then it's going to be hard to get pregnant. So this is why listening to AMH is not an accurate assumption of what's going on with your fertility, because you could have a really high AMH level, but you're still not getting pregnant. And so that may indicate that the egg quality is not great. Or you can have a really low AMH level, but your egg quality is really good. So you could be scared when you see that AMH level, but really it might not be a problem at all. So that is why looking after your egg quality is the most important thing. Doing the right preconception health, and also looking at what's happening with your hormones. So let me know if you have questions about that. I know there can be a lot of misconceptions around AMH. Okay, let's move on. So foods to increase in preconception. So these foods have been shown to help with hormonal balance, decrease the risk of miscarriage, better egg quality, and better sperm health as well. So take a screenshot of this, take a little picky of this. Things that I recommend: as much organic, if you're eating meat, as much organic meat as you can, local or wild caught fish, lots of green leafy vegetables, because this also has lots of nice iodine. 3 cups of organic vegetables a day. So that can include any type, but brassica vegetables will be really helpful. And also always making sure that your vegetables are cooked. So a lot of people who eat raw food, this goes against everything in Ayurvedic medicine, TCM, traditional Chinese medicine. We really want to be having warming, nourishing foods for the womb and keeping that digestive fire alive. 2 Brazil nuts a day, flax seeds as well, fiber, estrogen balance, 1 cup of bone broth a day for the gut health, half a teaspoon of dulse flakes for iodine, or you can have things like nori sheets as well, are perfectly okay. Using lots of herbs and spices, and increasing your fats, because your hormones are made from fats in your diet. So really important to be increasing those ones there as well. That can include like nuts and seeds too, in this category, which I think, is really helpful when we're looking at fertility. So foods to decrease in preconception journey. Also, this is for males and females. So both for egg quality and sperm quality, we need to be increasing these types of foods. Now, foods to decrease in preconception, which is for both egg quality and sperm quality, decreasing alcohol in the lead up. So definitely 3 months before, working on removing it, or only once per week, and just a very moderate amount. Because alcohol is something that really is the least helpful of anything to be supporting fertility. It oxidizes a lot. Really, we want to be having more antioxidants in the diet. And no, unfortunately, the antioxidants in red wine don't really outweigh the negative effects of the actual alcohol in it. Coffee is another one. When we're thinking about the stress response in the body and how much this plays into our fertility, looking after our adrenal glands is essential. So I don't mind if you would have like 1 coffee every second day, that would be totally cool. But anything more than that, I think really needs to be worked on removing. There is also studies that show, there's conflicting studies, but there's studies that show that excessive consumption of coffee during pregnancy can lead to miscarriage as well. So it is something that I usually recommend a lot of my clients to just either reduce or remove. Yeah. Refined sugar. We really want to be having the most nutrient dense types of food in our diet as possible. So refined sugar, that's got to go. And processed packaged foods, just working on just eating real food really, really works. So number 2, stress shuts down our reproductive system. So if you are being chased by a tiger every day of your life, your body will know that this is not a safe environment for procreation. So there can be many levels and different types of stress. There can be work stress, there can be relationship stress, family stress, health stress, physical body stress. If you're actually in pain, that can be a sign of stress as well. So none of these are more than the other. There can be low grade chronic stress. There can be high grade acute stress, where it might be one event that was really stressful, or it can be lingering stress for the past 10 years, ongoing stress with work all the time. And, I guess that's where you really see in a lot of, fertility communities that people just say, oh, just go on a holiday and then it will happen, or just stop thinking about it and then it will just happen. And honestly, the amount of times I've read that, and it's just like massive face palm, because it's so dismissive of what people are going through. And seriously, the stress around health, and even just the stress around fertility in general, is a really, really big one that I see with people. So I'm definitely not here saying just stress less and that will help you. It's more about being aware of what's going on in your life and your body, and how much of these things you do tick off. So when we're thinking about the stress levels, we need to think about the cortisol. So your cortisol is your stress hormone. And so this is made from your adrenal glands. Your adrenal glands are the two little glands on top of your kidneys, and this is what makes your adrenaline and your cortisol. And so when we're thinking about this stress, we also can't function without cortisol, because cortisol is what helps us to be awake, to be alert. It has so many beneficial functions in the body, but it's not something that we need all the time. So when we're working on managing our cortisol, we need to really think about it in a more holistic way. So for example, I'm going to give you a story, and just pretend we're talking about these two people. Say that they live in a tribe, like back in the day when we lived in tribes, and say they live a pretty cruisy day-to-day life. They're like foraging for foods, looking after children, looking after each other, hanging out. What actually happens when there is a threat in their community, say that their tribe is being attacked, right? In that time, that is when the peak stress happens. What do they do in that time? They run, they fight, they hide, these types of things, right? When we're in that state, the body is not saying, I really feel like making a beef stew for dinner tonight. I think that's a good idea. And I think I'm going to go have a little nap at the moment as well. And I think now's a really good time to also be making a baby. What do you think about that? So when we think about it in this way, try to think about how many little bits of stress you have in your day, and how many times you feel like you go into that fight, flight, freeze response. And of course, at times it is useful, when you need to get to that meeting by this time, when you need to reply to those 10 emails by 10 a.m., these types of things, that response is essential in those times. But it's not something that we should be in all of the time. So what I'm trying to say is that when this tribe gets attacked, that is for like a day, and then it's over, and then they're back to being chill, and they're back to having their normal life. Whereas in our modern day life, we have all of these constant stress, little micro stresses just all the time. And it's something that we really need to be mindful of and just start to be aware of if you are on that fertility journey, because when you are overproducing cortisol, the body does shut down your reproductive system. So I don't know about you, but I have had times in my life, literally when I was studying, that's how ironic it is. When I was studying to be a naturopath, I was also working. I was also socializing like crazy, playing heaps of sport, traveling all the time. And I just wouldn't get my period for 3 months straight. Then I'd get one, then I'd skip one, and it was just super irregular. And what I kind of realized was that that stress response that happened those couple of months before had completely shut down my ovulation. So the body is always looking out for us and always trying to keep us safe. And so when we're in that stress state, it's not a time to be reproducing. It's not a time to be ovulating, really, or conceiving. So, those hormones, even if you are ovulating, maybe the other hormones that help with the implantation or help with many other things along the chain of the conception maybe aren't happening. So something to really think about if you're noticing signs like anxiety, shortness of breath, headaches, sleep problems, mood changes, big PMS symptoms going on, muscle tightness or joint pain. These types of signs can be really big ones that stress response is too high. Also, another thing is that digestive function goes down. So blood goes to the muscles away from the vital organs. So that's away from reproductive system, away from digestion. So if you notice that you have a lot of digestive problems too, that could be a sign that this stress response is really affecting a lot of your vital organs. I just got a couple of anonymous questions in there. So someone said, how do I find the time to do this? I can't just relax all the time when I work full time and study. So yeah, this is a big thing that I get asked a lot is like, well, I can't just sit down and watch Netflix for the whole weekend to try and relax. I don't have time for that. And it's not so much having to take whole days off. Obviously, that would be great if you could, but it's also about finding those little pockets. So do I have time just to literally do 20 breaths into my belly before I eat my lunch? Or do I have time to go and sit out on the grass for 5 minutes when I wake up before I go and have coffee and breakfast and get started for the day? Do I have time on my lunch break to just go and sit outside rather than sit at my desk? Do I have time to journal for 5 minutes before I go to bed each night? So, you can find those little pockets of time. It's just about being curious about it and being interested about how you can find these little pockets of time as well. Hope that helps. Now, preconception plan. So no, it's not just Elevate. So the reasons why I don't recommend supermarket brand prenatals is because they are poor forms of nutrients and not all of the essential ones that we need. Low dose nutrients, which is why they can be sold at the supermarket, and they also contain fillers. So we need particular doses of nutrients that are clinically proven to help with preconception and to help during pregnancy. But supermarket brands cannot go over certain amounts of the dose that they're allowed to sell. So that's why there's usually low doses of the nutrients, cheap, poor forms of nutrients that generally don't get absorbed very well. So that's why I don't recommend the Elevate. Plus, it doesn't have a lot of things in there that we need. Nutrients needed in the female prenatal is iron, B12, iodine, activated folate, choline, magnesium, vitamin C, CoQ10, inositol, activated B vitamins, and selenium. So all of these different types of nutrients need to be in the right form as well. For example, if we have an iron and we have iron oxide, which is usually what is in a lot of cheap prenatals or cheap multivitamins in general, it's not going to get absorbed very well, usually makes you constipated, usually makes you not feel good in the tummy, and just doesn't help at all. It's not getting absorbed. So it's not helping the energy. It's not helping to build up your iron stores. So using a good form of iron, like an iron bisglycinate, can be really helpful. Or B12, there's so many different forms of B12. Getting ones that are synthetic forms is not desirable. So in a lot of supermarket brands, they'll use things, B12 called cyanocobalamin, which is a synthetic form of B12. We really want the more natural forms, like a methyl form of B12. Same with all of your B vitamins, same with your folate. Lots of supermarket brands don't contain any choline at all. And choline is really, really important for baby's brain development and preventing neural tube defects. So super important. There's so many amazing nutrients. If you need extra things like zinc, selenium, Ozone has selenium. If you need any other extra nutrients, then that's when you can do the proper bloods to figure out what actually needs to be done there as well. So preconception plan, take a picture of this. I recommend the Natural Best prenatal 2 per day. If you need access to this, let me know. I can let you know where you can get it from. This is formulated by a naturopath. They actually have prenatals, then they have trimester 1, and then there's a separate one for 2 and 3 in breastfeeding altogether. So 3 different ones during the stages of your pregnancy, because this just makes sense. Like, of course, we would need different nutrients at different stages of our pregnancy when baby is developing differently. So it just makes so much sense to me. And I just find that a lot of my clients do really well on it. There's no constipation. There's none of those icky symptoms. Fish oil is really important. So this is important for baby brain development. It's important for toning the uterus as well. It's important for anti-inflammatory effects. It's important for making a lot of your hormones. It's important for your immune system. So many things. Please don't get a fish oil just from the supermarket or from like the cheap thing in the chemist. Really important to get a good quality one like Nordic Naturals, because fish oil can oxidize, and when they have them in the really thick capsules, you won't actually taste that it's oxidized. So super important to make sure that you get a good quality fish oil and having at least 3 grams of omega-3s a day. Pregnancy probiotic, there's specific ones I recommend. If you'd like help with this, reach out and I can help guide you to the best one wherever you're located in the world. And then, of course, like I said before, iron, vitamin D, B12 if needed based on bloods, and then herbs based on bloods related to hormonal imbalances as well. So super important to have your preconception plan in place for 3 months before you're planning to conceive. If you're already trying now, you can start taking them for sure, and just make sure that you're really diligent with it. We can also get this happening for your partner for sperm health. So get in touch with me as well if you need help with prescribing for that, because there are men's versions of these prenatals from Natural Best that are really good quality and have really, really good doses of all of the nutrients that are needed. So do you have any questions about this preconception plan? Let me know. I'm just going to wait here for a sec to see if there's any questions. Okay, one's just come through about, okay, so my partner has poor sperm analysis. He's taking CoQ10. Is that good? Yes. So the CoQ10 is a super essential one for helping with sperm quality. And that is because the CoQ10 is really high in antioxidants. So the antioxidants is so important for the sperm health, number one importance. If you can go on like high antioxidant diet through food, and then also working with CoQ10. Plus there's a few other herbs that you can use as well, which is in the men's Naturo Best, which is definitely what I'd recommend for this person too. Hope that helps. Yeah, flick through any other questions that you have. And yeah, just message me, Instagram, Facebook, whatever all of the other things are. Message me if you need help with accessing these supplements for prenatal journey. I can help guide you where the best place is to get those. Okay, so by now you're probably connected with a lot of these things that I've been talking about, and I hope that it's been really helpful for you. If you'd like to take the next step with learning more about this, I do have a Natural Fertility 4-week online program, which includes 4 weeks of learning with me. So we go over more in depth than what we went tonight. So really working on fertile windows, hormone testing, teaching you about how to actually analyze and interpret your tests, how to analyze your basal body temperature tracking as well, cervical mucus tracking. And these are all through videos, resources, handouts, quizzes, worksheets, like the whole thing, ebooks. So male fertility is a whole week session as well, which is why I do recommend to include your sperm holder in this journey as well. Week 3, more in depth about foods, recipe books, food guides, and then your preconception plan, which will go more in depth than what we went tonight. Nutrient ebook as well, and then plus modules, extra modules, environmental hormone disruptors, like things in your home that can be really helpful to swap over. So I'm just going to pop the link for this in the chat, and the code that you can use is webinar50 to get $50 off that. So that's going to be valid for the next 4 days. So you can have a good look at that, get all of the info that you need. If you want to book in a call with me to discuss if this is like the right thing for you with this fertility course, then let me know and we'll book that in. If you'd like to book in for one-on-one treatment with me, like if you've already got tests back and you already kind of have a good idea of what's going on, then you can definitely do that. And I'll just put the link for that. So that's the link, that last one that I just sent is for booking in a 15-minute chat, which I'm happy to do for free as well, to see if this is the right thing for you. So any new clients, I always offer that, so we can have a good chat, make sure that this is the right plan for you. But yeah, I really hope this has helped. So we've gone over preconception plan, stress, foods to increase, reasons why you may not be getting pregnant, including AMH, including all of the tests to get done, including how to screen for PCOS, including how to screen your thyroid, including how to look at your semen analysis, basal body temperature tracking, temp drop, my favorite thing. And then understanding what your hormones are doing. Like a lot of people have never actually seen this chart about what is actually going on in all of these different phases of your cycle. So yeah, I really hope this has helped everyone who's joined tonight. Thank you so much for the questions. If you have more questions that you want to ask, feel free to flick them over to me. More than happy to answer. And yeah, I hope that you've learned some amazing things tonight. I hope that you can walk away with some new information to start implementing straight away. And if you'd like to join in on the 4-week online program, we would love to have you in there. Have lots of people in there at the moment going through, and yeah, really seeing some amazing changes. So it's a really great community, great place to get more help, like a helping hand, you know, for 4 weeks, and then ongoing, like in the Facebook group as well. So would love to see you in there. Please let me know if you have any questions. More than happy to answer them. And thank you so much for joining. Have an amazing night.